evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast. For the next 2 hours, we will bring you the latest pro wrestling news, in-depth analysis of all your favorite promotions from across the globe, and much, much more. We will also bring you exclusive interviews with the greatest professional wrestling personalities on the local, national, and international levels. If you want to follow the Wrestle Talk Podcast, check us out online at www.wrestletalkpodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. And now, it's time for the reigning, defending, undisputed leader in pro wrestling podcast, the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to Wrestle Talk Podcast, episode number 488, Blue Chipper. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And we've got a heck of a show lined up for you tonight with a wonderful guest. The one and only Mr. Martinsburg, Jordan Evans, will be joining us later on in the show. And that should be a great, great interview. And just looking forward to everything. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I am not here by myself. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get him in here. The one, the only, Gabriel R.C., ladies and gentlemen.
Wrestle Talk Podcast family. It's your young lion with the old soul. And as always, I got my can of sake, I got my bag of gummy Tetris, and I'm here to talk some pro wrestling hardcore. Hoss, how have you been, man? It's been a while. Episode 388. We're still running this, me and you. They must really like this dynamic. I think the fans called us back.
488.
Oh, 488. See, look at that. Even more. That's how much we've been doing this.
But yeah, I tell you, we must be doing something right because this is just becoming a normal thing here, you know?
Yeah, we might as well call it the Arsene and Haas show, right?
So, although last week you were here with the Night Owl, you know.
It's true. It's true. That was a fun show. Oh my God, we were we were geeking out over MLW. Susan, Badass American Diva, Yellow Guys. What you mean by that? We want Roman Reigns. You really don't, Brian Ruse. You really don't. But welcome to the show, man. Pleasure to have you on episode 488 here in the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Well, we got a lot happening in the world of professional wrestling since the last show, both in WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling. We have Jordan Evans coming here on our second hour. Hopefully we get some words from Big Daddy P. And we actually might have a special extra host here. Don't want to give too much of a spoilers here if we can get the situation in the green room set up. But it won't just be me and Hardcore Hoss here. Tonight in episode 488 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. We have a third party that is waiting in the wings, but no spoilers, folks. But before we jump in to our high spots question here, Hardcore Hoss, did you want to take care of those advertisements so we can give a shout out to our lovely, lovely sponsors? So
actually, I tell you what, why don't we give you the privilege here while I take care of something here real quick. So,
all righty, I'd love to.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
And as always, folks, the Wrestle Talk Podcast would like to thank our great sponsors, including Royal Mills Transportation, head by one CEO, DeJuan Mills, Nobleman's Barber Lounge, that's in Kansas City, Missouri, Kincaid Arcade at Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, shout out to Jeremy, and Little Popeye Designs. It's where you can pick up your Wrestle Talk Podcast tumblers. And, of course, the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. I never get tired of that, Hardcore Hoss. I never get tired of it.
So thank you for shouting those out. You know, we wouldn't be here without our great sponsors, our great fans. We want to thank them. Thank our fans as well for tuning in. Thank you guys, especially if you're tuning in live, whether you're tuning in on the replay. Thank you. We really appreciate it. Make sure you share the show.
Please do.
That way it gets out there to more people. Make sure you like us on all platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and X. Why did I almost forget X? Hey, you know.
Because we're all used to Twitter. I won't ever get over it. I call it Twitter still. But yes, you can absolutely find us on our handles at Instagram, X, Facebook. And be sure to catch us at the hashtag Let's Talk Wrestling, because we love to have our opportunities. You know, your opinion on wrestling, whether you like something we're talking about, dislike something we're talking about, whether you want to try and voice your opinion here on the show, we are open to all forms of thought here, because we absolutely want to make sure that we are getting every aspect of the pro wrestling world, every part of our family, whether it's the people we don't want to acknowledge. No, I'm just kidding. But those parts of the family we want to leave dead. No, but I'm getting off.
Before we bring our co-host in here, you know, let's go ahead and take care of a little more housekeeping, because we have got to go ahead and, as we always do at this time, we need to honor America. So if you would, please remove your hats, place your hands over your heart for the playing of our national anthem. Brings a tear to your eye or blood to your ears every time. I tell you.
I don't have a flag myself. I always have to bring out Edward here, but as you guys can see, he's very patriotic. The blood will not stop flowing from Susan Licky's ears here tonight. But with that taken care of, Haas, we've got our sponsors covered. We got, you know, our tribute to the greatest country here in the world. But we have one last thing I think we have to take care of here, because I want to ask you, is our guest situated here? Are we able to bring them in so we can have our trifecta here tonight?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I believe our guest host is ready to go. Well, let's see what happens here. So please welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast, for the first time joining us, the one and only Ace.
Woo! Welcome to the show, man. Is this the first time, I want to say? I know you've been on the Wrestle Talk or the
I think so.
FWC tonight.
Yeah.
We never had you here on the the Wrestle Talk podcast, but Ace, welcome to the show, man. Assassin Syndicate to one to another, man. It's always good to have you. I love your opinions on wrestling. But for the uninitiated, would you care to give us a quick bio on who you are, you know, how you got your start, whether it's in the world of wrestling or in the world of the FWWC? And, you know, just tell us a little about yourself and some things that you're looking forward to talking about here on the program, man.
Started local in the indie scene here around Georgia about when I was about 19. Stayed doing it with my cousin. He run a little small promotion here, and then I got into GPA right here, or GPW right here in Pittston, Georgia for a little bit. Did it until I was about maybe 30. Had some injuries, got out of it, got with the FWWC. Matter of fact, you sent me the invite, so hey, that was the way to get back in the ring without having to physically beat myself up. So,
right. That's always good to have you. Yeah, for the uninitiated, yours truly was actually the one who recruited Ace to join us here in the FWWC, and now it feels like, you know, you've been here for a while now. How many seasons has it been? I mean, you got it started back in season 9, I want to say, and we're up to 12.
This would be my third one here. Yeah, this is my third one.
Former FWWC Hardcore Champion, former Spartans Heart Champion, hoping to be World Heavyweight and Tag Team, I would imagine.
Hey, that still counts. I stole that fair and square. I was a heavyweight champion for, what, about 3 months?
Absolutely. Repping it harder than I would ever see imaginable, right? Jimmy Harris Sr., welcome to the show, man. Always a pleasure to have you.
How about it, Jimmy?
But with everything taken care of, Hardcore Hoss, I wanted to say, you want to try and jump into these high spots questions, or were we missing anything else before we move on here?
Well, before we get into high spots, Gabe, I think you have some unfortunate news to cover, don't you?
Yes. Allow me to get an opportunity to pull this up real quick, just because I want to make sure to do this correctly. Because we do have a bit of unfortunate news here in the world of professional wrestling. If we have an opportunity to have a display, I'm not sure. But as of today, June 25th, 2024, Sika Anawai has officially passed away. For those of you unfamiliar, one of the historied Anawai family, 1959, he moved to San Francisco, trained with professional wrestling by Afa and Carl von Strieger, 1973, in Stampede Wrestling. Very familiar with a lot of our notes that we have here. For the uninitiated, very well known in the NWA, WWF. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, gentlemen, I believe the grandfather of Roman Reigns. I got tons of here, actually. We could talk about this, but more so to the point, we would like to take the opportunity on behalf of the Wrestle Talk podcast for a 10-bell salute to honor Mr. Anawai in this moment of wrestling. Sika Anawai. May his spirit forever be honored. And with that taken care of, gentlemen, I think we need a little bit of injection of, I want to say, some fun here in the Wrestle Talk podcast tonight. I think we need to have some good old high spots questions to really shake things up. Hopefully have conversations about him and the opportunity to. But with that taken care of, Haas, are we ready to jump into these high spots questions? Ace, are you ready to jump in?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right.
So let's do it. DJ Money, take it away.
Mic check, mic check. Yeah. All right. Wrestle Talk Podcast. DJ Money. Yeah. Let's go. Welcome to High Spots, where we pop news like clear chops. We talk shop, coming through the screens of a laptop and non-stop like a runner speakers of blacktop. We hit hard like chair shots and backdrops, like a block blast, look like a barely flop. Now that's hard. We up to speed while they stay slow. Wrestle Talk Podcast. Now they know we about to start the show.
And with that,
All right.
Wrestle Talk Podcast family, welcome to the High Spot segment. Excuse me, I am getting tongue-tied all over tonight. But where we talk about some of the biggest news here in the world of professional wrestling. We have several topics loaded up into our randomizer, ready to spit out a pre-generated wrestling question. Some at the hand of Ace, some at the hand of Hardcore Hoss, or the other members here in the Wrestle Talk Podcast. But as well, for anybody in the audience, please be sure to comment your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. We'd love to be able to chat with you. But with that taken care of, folks, let's jump into this first question. Hardcore Hoss.
All right. Let's see if this randomizer will play nice with us tonight. WrestleMania XL behind the curtain. So the question is, what are your thoughts on WWE's decision to release WrestleMania XL behind the curtain on their YouTube channel instead of Peacock? And then Are you looking forwards to getting a glimpse behind the scenes with this exclusive footage? So who would like to field it first?
If I could, Ace, since you're our guest here tonight, until our second guest here in the second hour, would you like to take the lead on the first question here?
Yeah, sure. Thoughts on this one? I like the fact that I'm very old school with it, man. Grew up when you really didn't see behind the scenes. So some of it's neat to see, and then some of it I think they really just need to leave it alone. Them telling us how they planned it, how they worked it out, how they did this, how they did that. The whole backstage shenanigans a lot of times take the magic away from what made it so fun for us back then. If we knew every single little thing back then about the Attitude Era as it was happening, it wouldn't have been as magic. I mean, think about like Hogan back then with Andre. If everybody knew he was going to win, if everybody knew he was going to slam him, and all the details that went into that, it wouldn't have made that moment as good as it was. So I think what they pulled off at WrestleMania 40 was great. I think what they done was very historic, but I really think they should just need to leave it alone. I think they need to just completely say, screw it, don't tell us anything about it, and just let us, enjoy the moment instead of having to know every little detail about it. We really don't care, honestly. We just enjoy the fact that it happened.
I can understand that. I mean, it's sort of like with a magic trick. You don't want to explain to you because you want to leave it, ambiguous, because it kills the magic, so to speak, for you. So I can definitely understand.
Yeah,
that.
Pretty much.
So I guess I'll build off of that, and then I'll hand it off to you, Haas. I'm in a separate boat. I mean, I do understand where you're coming from. I absolutely agree that, in some aspects of wrestling, the veil being removed is sort of like, great, give the marks more ammo to be like, we know how this works. But as somebody who is trying to get into the wrestling business, having an opportunity to sort of see the inner machinations of things and see how the inner workings of especially a machine like WWE goes on, I'm curious. I'm definitely excited to see it. I can't imagine it's not going to be anything special, or we're going to get some behind the scenes information for some trivia, because I'm a big dork and that's all I care about with pro wrestling. But I can understand too how a wrestling purist or a loyalist, it would come across as something different. But for me, I'm good with it. But Hardcore Hoss, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure, because I can't see them going too far behind the scenes, because just like Ace said, it does take the magic away. So I don't see them going too in depth behind the scenes to the point where people are like, man, now you just ruined everything for me. I don't want to watch anymore. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going to show. So I am curious about that. I know it's been said that they actually wanted to put this out sooner, but production got delayed due to the fact that The Rock had to approve anything that had him in it, and he had to approve the content that was shown. And so there was a lot of things he wanted changed, some stuff he wanted taken out, some stuff he wanted added in. And, so that makes it a little more mysterious as to what they really are going to show us, at least in my mind. So I'm kind of 50-50. I'm just interested to see what they're really going to show, because I don't want them to go too far behind the scenes, but it does make me a little more interested. Of course, this is supposed to be shown Wednesday, July 3rd. I know the graphic we had said Wednesday, but it's Wednesday, July 3rd, not this Wednesday. But my real question is, why are they not dropping it to their Peacock content? It's going on their YouTube. I mean, I can understand they may be trying to build up their YouTube audience. They want more people going to YouTube and more eyes on YouTube. But
then they should have put speed on that.
Right.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, Hoss. That's how strongly I feel about speed, but we could talk about that later. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about it, and it's just it's strange that they're not putting this on Peacock. It's almost, my understanding is it's almost like a documentary, but it's not going on their streaming service. I don't understand that.
And I wanted to add on top of that question, what does that spell in the future for any other appearances of The Rock? Because we can imagine that he's micromanaging and making sure that not too much information is going out there. So what does that spell for the future? I'm probably speculating. But that is a good point, Haas. What were you going to say? I'll throw it to you in just a sec. I was going to say, but that is a good point, that it makes you wonder that you don't mind necessarily that they're doing the backstage segment, but why is it free on YouTube? Especially when things like Peacock or people, transitioning to Netflix soon, where it's like, okay, well, did these people get anything? We're just going to give them the free crap that they can watch on any phone ever, But what were you going to say, Ace? I wanted to throw it back.
Oh, no, touching on what he was talking about with The Rock putting in his input, he only wants certain stuff shown. He wants to add stuff, do this, do that. To me, in a lot of ways, and it goes back to sort of how I feel about it too. When you're used to seeing a character, and we all know when we was little kids and we found out it was staged, I'm not going to say fake, when we found out it was staged, the choreograph, it was kind of heartbreaking. I mean, everybody when we was kids thought that Undertaker and Kane was brothers, for real.
I still believe they're brothers, damn it.
Yeah. So with these little documentaries or shows and stuff they do, when they show behind the scenes, you see the actual real person, and that's fine. But I think in a lot of ways, it really ruins the character. I think about The Rock right this minute, and we were talking about, he'd mentioned, where does he go from here? How's this going to affect his appearance from here on out? Okay, so how is he going to be the final boss on TV? His character, his persona is supposed to be basically a heel, the final boss. Then all of a sudden you see him backstage, he's joking, and then on his documentary, he's, Dwayne Johnson, like you see him in Hollywood. I don't know. To me, that it kills the image.
Now, can I throw you a curveball in response to that? What if the documentary comes out, because we haven't seen it yet? What if it comes out and he's still selling it? Like, what if the entire time he's just like, "Hey, yo, fix that lights fixture. Yeah, shut up, bitch," and then just run, walks to the next guy. Like, he starts acting like the final boss during the documentary. That would be next level. You can't.
But that would.
I think he's like that. I think he's like that for real.
Yeah, because if anybody could do it, The Rock could. So I know what you mean, though, that it does kind of create that disconnect from where.
The thing about his movies, though, it's all typecast. I think he's really like that in real life, because if you look at his movies, you look at the portrayal he does in every one of his movies, the over cocky, over arrogant prick, even in the Fast and Furious deals. I really think he's like that in real life.
Maybe, but at least he got bag off of it.
True.
That's all.
Way more than we got.
Of course. So, but admittedly, I will say it does create that disconnect when we're rewatching older clips, because for me and you, and I'm sure you as well, Hardcore Hoss, or anybody in the audience, what made that Cody rivalry so real was because we didn't know. So having these kind of behind the scenes things, maybe it doesn't affect us in the, the memory we have of watching WrestleMania 40, but it does create that nostalgia vacuum where we're like, now I know how the operatings of this works. So it's not as real as it felt before when they were slapping each other. Now I'm like, oh, dude, they were backstage being like, dude, that was awesome. Did you see that? They reacted. So, I know where you're coming from when you come, I guess when you're coming from that, Ace.
So,
we ready to throw it to the next High Spots question, guys?
Yes, sir.
I'm good if you all are. All right, let's see what we got here.
Woo! This is a big one for me. I don't know about you two, but this is a big one for me. You mind if I read this question off, Oz?
Give me a second to find it here. We have about 16 questions loaded in this thing tonight. So
we got 2 hours, so let's crush it, gentlemen.
Here it is.
There we go. So now that Jacob Fatu has joined the bloodline, Are they more of a threat? You two mind if I take the reins on this one real quick? Because I got a lot to speak about when it comes to Jacob Fatu.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. So, Wrestle Talk Podcast family and the WWE universe. When I tell you that, yes, I understand that Uncle Howdy is back and those weird rejects from a Tim Burton movie are with him and the locker room needs to be on notice. I get that. The bloodline needs to be feared now that Jacob Fatu is here. People aren't ready. I just shared this on my Facebook about 10 minutes before the show happened. It's a video of this man's work before he came into WWE. Everybody's only ever seen him jump through that table and kill Cody Rhodes. When I tell you that people are not ready for this man, they are not ready. And I will quote him when I say this. You ain't King Kong or Godzilla because he's both of them. And that's all I'm going to leave it on with that when it comes to Jacob Fatu and the bloodline here in the Wrestle Talk podcast. But with that taken care of, Hardcore Haas, Ace, what are your thoughts? and I have to say, for those of you too, if you're not familiar with Jacob Fatu, what's your impression of him now that he's here?
Go ahead, Hoff.
Well, I mean, I have seen some of Jacob Fatu's work prior to being here. So I was a little familiar with him. I mean, I won't say I was 100% familiar, but I did know some of his work. But, you know, he comes in. There are several things, and I have heard a theory, and actually Susie brings it up, that The Rock planted Fatu. And actually the theory I heard was that Roman had planted him. And so some of the things I've heard to support that theory are, if you look when he comes in, it's almost like the others didn't realize he was supposed to be there. Like, where'd this guy come from? You know, and he never he looked mad during the whole thing. And the only one he really laid waste to was Cody. So a lot of people seem to think when you look at all that, he's there, but that when Roman comes back, he's turning on Solo, and that he was planted by Roman the whole time, and that he could be on Roman's team if they have the War Games match. And I think that would be just absolutely interesting to see the story play out that way, you know, with him being a plant and just playing them the whole time. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of them, I don't know much about them. The stuff I've seen before they come to WWE, I like them. The whole group. The only problem that I'm having with this whole scenario with the bloodline right this minute is they want us to feel like right this minute it's a threat. Half the guys that are brought in, unless you are like us, you know, we follow different promotions, we follow the indies, we have different, you know, groups that we pay attention to outside of WWE. And unless you're one of those, I really don't think a lot of people really knew who he was. I don't think they realized even who Solo was for a while there. The problem I'm having with the bloodline at the moment is Solo is kind of a joke. I mean, even before Roman lost and he was out or whatever, Solo kind of went on this whole, you know, losing streak. He really wasn't considered much of a threat. Now all of a sudden he's supposed to step up and he's head of the table. Okay, so what happens when you got these guys that are supposed to be like these dominant threats and people are supposed to take them that way, but the guy that's supposed to lead them is kind of now Solo's the soft baby. And I hate to say that with this group here, Solo's supposed to lead them, but he's the softie. And that's going to ruin his character, honestly. And unless they do this the right way, I think they're going to back themselves in the corner, almost like they've done with the whole bloodline, you know, original bloodline. And I don't know. I just don't think the story is going to play out as good as what they are hoping, because not a lot of people really follow these guys. I mean, until recently, when they started being rumors, people started hearing about them on the internet. Hey, this guy's going to debut. This guy was, you know, part of the Samoan family. Then everybody and their granny started looking him up. They didn't know him outside of that. Now all of a sudden he's in WWE, and we're like, yeah, okay, well, we're still not really impressed. You get what I mean? Like, show us something different than what every other indie star has really done. So,
Now,
unless they really step in and do something different with this version of the Bloodline, I see it falling flat. I really do.
now, besides the potential civil war that we get between OG Bloodline and new Bloodline, what do you think needs to happen in order for you, I guess, to throw it for you? Because me personally, I'm entertained. I'm good with it. But I have a very low bar to clear in wrestling. You know that. You said The Rock? That's what you think needs to happen?
The only way this is gonna be taken serious if The Rock is head of the table, like the true head of the table. He comes in, he's put Solo in his place because Solo is answering to somebody. He's already said Roman is coming back. He's already thrown hints that he's answering to somebody else. So we all know it's got to be The Rock. So if The Rock comes back, he takes over. He is the head of the table, period. Now, that is a threat. That is the star power. That is somebody that's on that level beyond even Roman Reigns. Solo is not even close to being that. So it's hard to believe that that's where they're going with the angle, is Solo being the head of the table. I believe that The Rock's the true, one pulling the cord. And when he debuts, he comes back, he's going to take over, and it's going to lead to a big showdown between him and Roman Reigns. But the other ones are just kind of the pawns, really, at the moment.
They're pieces in the bigger game at play here.
Yeah.
That's what I hope to happen, honestly. Because I agree with you that I think that The Rock should be not just I think it's not just that he's the head of the table wrestling-wise. I like the idea of The Rock being the head of the table because we know he's at the top of TKO. Like he's got that pull where it's just like, I could tell you to lay down right now and you would do it. Like just that's the level that he's on. And I agree with you that I think if they want the Bloodline to be firing on all cylinders, they need to start pulling the trigger when it comes to that. But we'll see how this plays out in the next couple of weeks. With that, though, were you guys ready to jump into the next question?
And there is still another brother?
They're speculating, I think. Me personally, I think 4 is the perfect number. I'm like, you have 2 people to replace the tag teams. You got Solo as the figurehead, and then you got, Fatu as the muscle. Because, like, I'm sorry, like, I love Solo, but that's a lot of man right there when we're talking about Jacob Fatu. And that's a wall.
Well, and the War Games are what, 5-on-5?
It varies. I think they've done 4-on-4 before, depending on the ruling on it. As long as there's just more than one person and it's in intervals, I think it should be fine. And if not, we can bring Sammy Uso back. That's just me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to bring up. When the original Bloodline comes back, do you think Sammy's going to join back with them?
I don't know that I think that, but I want that. Because that just would be cool. That'd be cool, full circle, and just to be like, look, I wasn't messing with you guys when you were being stupid, but now you got your head out of your asses, and we got a common enemy. So let's get this bag,
Well, along in some of the other stuff I heard in rumors, I heard in corporation with the rumor of him being planted was that when everything happens, you'll see they'll have an advantage like over Roman, and then next thing you know, Cody Rhodes will be the one to help Roman, and then Cody will join the war team. And I'm like, I don't see that. That's a little far-fetched.
I don't know that it is, though. No, because exactly, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Haas. The only reason I could consider it is because this dude is the son of Dusty Rhodes, and while I'm making a big stretch here when it comes to my wrestling history, I think about he did team with Nikita Koloff. Did he not? Did not? I'm trying to remember if he did at some point. It was sort of that rivalry that turned into a friendship kind of thing where it's like, look, I know they're probably not friends, but Cody's the kind of upstanding dude where he's like, look, you need my help. You're asking of me. I'm going to do it because I'm ready to kick ass. So, and I think me and Ace are in the same boat that we just think it would be cool to see. Just to be like, it would make sense storyline wise that he's like, look, you're coming to me for help after I beat you for your belt. That takes, I guess I wouldn't really know the characteristic to describe it, but that takes guts, I guess.
No, I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool. I'm just saying think that might be a little of a stretch, but that's just me personally.
You think it would flatline for the casual audience, is what you're saying?
But and to answer Brian's question, it is Saturday, July 6th.
With that, before we jump into our next question, just so we can throw a little tiny one in there, who are your picks to win the Money in the Bank, or who would you like to see? Both women's and men's, if you have any. Me personally, Tiffany Stratton. She's got to win that women's Money in the Bank. It's Tiffy time. Plain and simple. That's my call this year.
Chad Gable.
Chad Gable? You really want him to win the Money in the Bank?
Chad Gable.
I can appreciate that choice. But what about you, Hardcore House? Anybody stand out for you?
I'm not sure quite yet. I mean, I know there's still more to
play in the field,
to actually get in there. But, I almost see the Wyatts playing a factor in Chad Gable trying to win it.
That honestly would be interesting if the Wyatts had a Money in the Bank contract, especially after, what was it? Oh my God, Austin Theory cashing it in. Think about the potential for what belts they could get with that. That'd be interesting. That's just me. But with that taken care of, we're ready to throw it on to our next high spots question. So let's jump into it.
All right, let's go ahead and hit that randomizer again.
Ooh, I know Will's got a lot to say about this.
So the question is, do you think Randy Orton, Charlotte Flair, or someone else deserves to break the Nature Boys record? Will, I believe, or Ace, I believe you submitted this one. So, why don't you kick us off on it?
So, first and foremost, before anybody says they're going to break Flair's record, that is my all-time favorite, the wrestling world actually has recognized all of his world titles. And so it's way more than 16 now. I think it's like 20, 22 or something like that. So he is officially recognized as like a 20-something time champion. But if you're going by what, we all know him as a 16-time champion, you have Randy Orton and you have Charlotte Flair. I think if you're going to keep the record, keep it with a Flair. As much as I would love Randy Orton to win it, because that is one of my all-time favorites, have Flair keep the record. Have Charlotte not only make history, in the women's division like she already has, but just make history in wrestling, period, and beat her own dad's record. I think that would be like poetic justice. I think it would be just, a really historic moment for another Flair to say, hey, look, I got that record. And for his own daughter to do it, that would be amazing. Especially after everything she's accomplished already. Man, that's awesome.
Sorry. Did you guys catch me on camera?
A little bit.
I was trying to be subtle about it. But Hardcore Hoss, you mind if I take it, or did you want to take it next?
Go right ahead.
So, while I do appreciate the sentiment of Charlotte Flair being the daughter of the man who set this record and being the one to break it, when I think of overall lifetime achievement, when I think about a career dedicated to pro wrestling and something not being earned, but given to somebody, I think Randy Orton should absolutely be the man to break Ric Flair's record. I think as somebody who was one of the youngest champions, somebody who broke in as early as he did, for somebody to reinvent wrestling in a way that I think most people didn't consider in some ways, because I will defend Randy Orton till I die. And I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
Because I believe that there's a bunch of people who don't give him his flowers because he's a WWE guy. And it's like, guess what? He wasn't made for New Japan. He was made for the WWE. And he's been sold out. You can get this rage counter on here because I want everybody to hear the actual audacity in my tone right now. Randy Orton should absolutely be the man to beat this record. When I think about a lineage, when I think about somebody who dedicated their life for the business, who is still here, I have a video on my YouTube that I save of this man talking about his legacy when I think about it, because it is a legacy. This is the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about for 45 years down the line when his son is wrestling or when I'm wrestling my sons, right? But with that taken care of, Absolutely, I believe this man is, because he has dedicated his life to this. I believe that he's the kind of man who understands psychology. He understands wrestling to its absolute fiber and DNA. He knows how to get asses in the seats. And if anybody, Ric Flair included, was going to be able to make a choice on that, I think the Nature Boy would say yes. In fact, I think if he was able to go as well as he was able to go now, absolutely think he would be the one to put him over. But that's just me. I hope I got my piece out in time.
Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, when it comes to the Nature Boys record, I know John Cena has 13. He's close to the 16 time part of it. Orton could possibly do it, but if they're going to let anybody do it, it should be Charlotte. But honestly, I don't think they should let anybody do it. Personally, here lately, it seems like all the records that have been set, there was all the talk of Roman and him trying to break the record for longest reign, and, trying to beat Hogan, who actually doesn't have the longest reign, but and San Martino, and beating all them. And then there was Gunther with the Intercontinental reign, and trying to make sure he broke that one. And why are we trying to erase everybody's records anymore? And that's what it comes down to. They're trying to erase what happened before, and I don't see any reason to actually erase the past. These people paved the way, and they got these records, and they deserved them. And at least for now, I think they should keep them. I don't think it's time to let the record go and have anybody break it right now, personally. But that's just me.
See, I will give you that, though, Haas, because I'm a big defender of some of the records, but I also acknowledge the question, do we always need to break them to make somebody relevant? Or maybe not even relevant, but just more so, do we have to always break a record to validate somebody? We think about some people who should have broken records or should have gone to do things, but we never ever stopped and asked for some wrestlers if they should have. Everybody always talks about it. We talk about somebody like Randy Orton breaking a record, like a Ric Flair or, Bruno San Martino. But we never ever stop and ask, well, does this man's, accolades speak for themselves to where you don't need Randy Orton to break the Nature Boys record? I mean, we think about that. We're like, yeah, he could, but does he really need to? We think about his career over the span of how many years now? 30, 40, pushing up to it at this point. So I definitely like your stance a little more than maybe not that I like more than me or Will's, but that I can appreciate that perspective.
And
the
wrestling PhD.
The question now, though, I had.
Yeah, the wrestling PhD Bernie Deal, he chimes in here, and he says that if anybody's going to break it, Ric Flair would have to come back, and he would be the one to put his blessing on it. And that would be the proper way to do it if they were going to do it. But
well, with that being said, now I like what Gabe said too. Now, so what do you think about Cena tying the record? Because Cena's a 16-time champion now. So do you think he goes along with what you're talking about? Did that really do anything for his career? I mean, he already went down as one of the greatest even before that. Mm-hmm. So with everything he accomplished, everything he done, the star power that he brought was closer to anybody compared to The Rock at the time. So, I mean, did it really do anything for his career to tie that record? So I get what you're saying too. I mean, sometimes it just don't do anything for him,
I don't mind it when it's for records that I agree with. Me personally, love that Gunther broke the record for the longest reigning, because everybody talks about like, oh, well, what about the Honky Tonk Man? The only reason anybody remembers a Honky Tonk Man record is because the Ultimate Warrior record. That's it. It's a record beaten by another record, and that's terrible. For a workhorse title, somebody like Walter absolutely deserves it.
Oh, yeah.
But Gunther, excuse me. I'm so used to calling him Walter. But But I don't think a title is needed to be relevant. I agree. I think for somebody like Randy Orton or Charlotte, especially withstanding, they don't need to break the record. Is it a nice reference? Yes.
Look at me. I'm the hottest star in the FWWC, and I don't hold the title right this minute. So, I mean, she makes a point, dude. I'm like the top star. I mean, come on.
Yeah, there you go. But egos notwithstanding. No, I love you, man. But with that said, no, I think me and Ace are kind of coming around to your train of thought, Hardcore Hoss, when it comes to it. I'm just in the favor of Randy because if I ever think of anybody who was gifted, like I guess gifting somebody like Randy Orton, a veteran like him, is more disrespectful than anything. But if I were to ever be like, yo, this dude deserves it, it's Randy Orton. But that's just
yeah, and I will agree. Randy does deserve more than what he gets, honestly. I mean, you look since he's been back, and I think he deserves more than what he's gotten since he's been back. But
how many people that were here 20 years ago ain't here anymore? Where's Randy Orton? Still here. That's my only piece when it comes to that conversation. That's all. Love John Cena, love Batista, love what people are doing with their lives. You don't need wrestling to continue if it helps you break into another business. I get it. But when I think about somebody who contributes, absolutely Randy Orton. But if we could touch on this real quick. Oh, are you able to bring it back up, Haas, or we just want
yeah.
We wanted to take an opportunity. Thank you, Bernie, for paying your respects to Sikoa and Hawaii. Just saw that when I got home, Afa has had many health issues and fought through. Shocking, Sika passed away today. Absolutely terrible loss here in the wrestling world today. But the opportunity
I know that
pay the
I know you may not have been able to tune in earlier. We did have the 10 bell salute for him earlier, so
thank you. We appreciate it.
It is a sad thing. So.
And he's the father of Roman Reigns and the father-in-law of Pat McAfee. That's how it was announced. Yeah.
I accidentally called him the grandfather. I do apologize.
I thought he was Roman's father, but I wasn't 100%, so I wasn't going to correct you without knowing for sure. But yeah, so.
Wouldn't be the first time we've gotten stuff wrong here. All right. Like the last 3 quiz shows, I messed up. So it's fine.
The Wrestle Talk gets something wrong? That doesn't happen.
Never.
All right. Are we ready to hit that randomizer again?
I think the audience is ready. I think they're sick of hearing my voice.
All right. Let me pull this randomizer back up here, and we'll go ahead and find out what we got next here, because we got plenty of topics, but of course, here in about 25 minutes or so, we've got Jordan Evans coming up, so make sure you stay tuned in for that. Why am I looking right at this? There it is. And our question is, Triple A and NXT. Media outlets have reported that NXT has talked with AAA about working together. If this happens, which promotion is in a better position? All right, Gabe, you want to go ahead and start it? Or actually, I think you might have started last one, didn't you?
I think Will started the next one. So let me jump for this one, and then we'll pass it to Will.
Go ahead.
All right. If I'm being real here, I think NXT has the most to gain here. This might be a little different from my American fans here, but AAA is a very esteemed wrestling company. They have lots of history, and their draw gates are ridiculous. Like, if you want to talk about a crowd, just watch a AAA pay-per-view and see how many people tune out for Lucha Libre. They love this stuff. But this is a good thing, and it's good for NXT in two ways. It's good because it creates a nice rapport, and both companies get to benefit from it. You get a cross promotion from talent. You have the opportunity to where Mexican news outlets are going to be able to hear about NXT, and then you get American news outlets that are going to hear about AAA. It's a good thing. We call this cross pollination. I always talk about this. I love to hear about it in the world of pro wrestling in the year of our Lord 2024. But I think NXT has the most to gain, only because this builds off of the question me and Night Owl were bringing up in the last show, which is the idea that WWE is really just kicking open that forbidden door and walking in and out like it owns the place. Is it a better place because of the TKO connection? That is a very strong possibility, Susan. I disagree only because I think AAA is out there with the numbers. But I think this is great because it creates a rapport to where not only do we see AAA and NXT meeting now, but potentially in the future, and we get more insane cross-promotional inter-branded promotions that we get to see things like, TNA. I marked out when I saw Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry on NXT. I don't care who you are. I love to see the TNA or the AAA people show up. I love to see AJ Styles in New Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah. And honestly, I'll throw it out to that. I would love to see New Japan Pro Wrestling show up in the future. I would like to see them throw it out with Shinsuke and they can figure something out. But I think this is NXT has the most to benefit from here when it comes to this. But to throw it to Will, what are your
I'm kind of with you on that one. I think NXT has a lot more to gain from it. It opens up more of a fan base, and we've all seen how outside of America the crowd is freaking nuts. We got some of the most boring crowds, unfortunately. But from what I've seen of it, I love the way the crowd is. I love the atmosphere, and to be able to cross that over with NXT and have some of NXT guys exposed in that kind of way in front of that kind of crowd, I think it would help them to really step up their game a lot. And them guys in AAA are really just, that's major talent. So to even have them on NXT and exposing them to a bigger company, let's face it, WWE, just by name alone, the biggest company in the world. And they would benefit just even being associated with it. So I think NXT has more to gain from it, but I think altogether it would be more beneficial really for AAA. Like I said, just a bigger crowd, or a larger audience when it comes to that bigger stage. So I think NXT would benefit great just from the atmosphere, but with these guys coming to a bigger ship, bigger yard, I reckon, I think they would benefit more from that coming to NXT.
All right. Well, honestly, I think that AAA would benefit more than NXT, just because, WWE is already pretty much worldwide. You see them going all over the place. I know NXT doesn't travel quite as much, but, it's still WWE. AAA, yeah, they are known by some here in America, but I don't think they're quite as worldwide as WWE is, obviously. And so I think that would help spread them more worldwide. My thing is, though, that, here they're talking to AAA about doing something together. This, to me, just seems like WWE's answer to the AEW CMLL. Because
but what's the problem?
They've been doing that. Well, it's just, okay, we see they're doing it over there, so we got to answer that. So let's grab AAA and bring them in.
But if you have an answer, sorry, I don't mean to. I like to create some animosity here in the chat. I want to know that I make things harder for my coworkers on the show, folks. Let it be known. No, I love you, Haas. But I guess I'd like to think if they are doing it because it's in response to AEW, but they do it better, what happens? If more people are talking about AAA and AEW, both in Mexico and America, as a cross-promotional wrestling event, in spite of the fact that CMLL and AEW did it first, what does that say to AEW? Specifically AEW fans. Because I'm a person who likes to defend AEW, but I'm like, what happens when they show you up on something you started? It's like, because I like to think about that with feuds that I have when I was playing Tekken back in Texas, where we had dudes from other states coming down here and they would whoop our boys. It's like, what does that say about us? That makes us look like shit. But
you also got to take in mind, though, why AEW started doing that. See, when they first started, they had to do that to even try to compete with WWE. So now WWE is like, okay, look, guys, we really don't need to do this, but we're going to do it anyway because, I mean, come on, it's us, and we can do it better, just like you said. Exactly. So, in a way, it's like, because there's a lot of heat back and forth. I mean, let's be honest, you jump online and it's any wrestling podcast, any wrestling group, there's always going to be the little marks for AEW, and then you got the ones for WWE, so you're always going to have that split crowd.
The stands.
So, yeah, so it's, what's really sad about it is the fact that AEW is almost seeming desperate trying to keep up with WWE right this minute because of the fact that WWE can just smoothly, and I'm not putting down AEW, but it's one of those where, okay, WWE is like, okay, we've been here. This ain't our first rodeo. We could do it way better. Let me show you how it's done, and maybe you can step up and compete with us then.
I don't know. That's where that's where I'm at mentally. I feel like it's a power play that they're just like, okay, you're the second best and you're going to team up with CMLL. Okay. We're just going to hook up with AAA real quick. And then I feel like it's even more of a power play because it's NXT. Because think about that. They're not even saying, like, I still think about, like, I hate the WWE stands and the AEW stands, Ace, but I love the discourse. I love seeing these dudes taking whatever little thing they can do to piss the other guy off. I don't know if you guys were around during the 90s, but if you were big into Nintendo versus Sega, this is the same energy. I mean, it's the Monday Night Wars all over again, but it's, a different coat of paint, obviously. But I love it because I like to see the tribalism to a degree. I like to see people get passionate. When you start saying a couple of remarks and start attacking people for their character, that's where I draw the line. But I do like to see when people go out of their way for the statistics of like, oh yeah, Joe Hendry showing up on NXT. Yeah, that outsold AEW Collision. How you feel? And it's like, you fucker. You know what I mean? Like, I can't help but think about when people had Sega controllers and they would play Street Fighter 2 Turbo and they're like, yeah, how do you like having not a select button, asshole? Like, you know what I mean? You got to take all the little pot shots where you can, or you got to.
I was around when the feud was Super Nintendo and Sega. So, yeah. That was,
blast processing. Was there anything greater?
What I find funny, though, about the whole AEW, WWE feud back and forth is, for the most part, if you look at it, where they try to compete with each other, it always seems to be, it's more of the NXT versus AEW. I mean, because, even like with this, it's AAA and CMLL with AEW or NXT. When they very first started, it was AEW versus NXT in the ratings because they both were on Wednesday night. So it seems to me like AEW tries to compete more with NXT than they do the mainstream WWE. And I guess that's because they know they really can't compete with the mainstream WWE. So they try to compete more with the developmental stage of it than they do the mainstream stage.
I say pick your battles where you get them. They see an opportunity, take it. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a technical victory. That's the best kind of. So Bernie, plus the long game for WWE is global expansion. That is true. We have mentioned that they are doing that a lot recently. Getting a footprint in Mexico and Japan with alliances will get that NXT in every country idea back on the table. That's what I hope happens. My end goal, I hope they bring back the UK title. I miss the idea of it because when they had NXT UK, it was still experimental, but it wasn't able to sustain itself. I feel like this is the year to try and bring that idea back. Make the UK title the indie title, the title that shows up in Australia, in the US, in Japan, in Mexico. We get to see it appear in places like AAA. Like the idea that the NXT UK championship could appear on New Japan Pro Wrestling, if that doesn't get your appetite, I don't know how to get you as a wrestling fan. Plain and simple. That's where I'm coming at. But
just bring back the European Championship. Like they had back in the 90s. European Championship.
To me, that's what it was. So if they can bring that back and bring the original idea, that would be awesome. Because global wrestling is more common now than ever, and you have a new platform. So you might as well. But we could sit here talking about that all night, obviously. We would probably throw it to the next question.
You know, when we talk about the war back and forth, it seems like there was another question that was posed, and I don't want to break the randomizer, but it seems like this question would just fit here a little bit, at least in my mind, if I can find it.
How are y'all enjoying this heat, man? Good
I was
God.
going to say, recently?
Here we go.
May as well fill in the gap while we can. I was going to mention the game show music. I was just going to be like, doo-doo-doo.
All right. So it said, what are your thoughts on the rumors that Shane or Vince would buy AEW and TNA?
We should put this to bed now. So, Ace, did you want to start us off? And then, Haas, did you want to go second? Or did you want to start us off, Haas, since you brought out the question?
Start us off, Hawk. Go ahead.
All right. You know, honestly, I don't look, especially AEW, I don't look for them to sell to Vince. I don't look for them to outright sell to Shane. I could see where it might make some sense to say, all right, Shane, here we've got this contract. We want you to sign this contract, and we'll give you maybe a certain percentage of ownership in the company. But they're not outright going to sell to him. And that would be just a ploy to try to get more eyes on the company there and to capitalize on the McMahon name, since you don't see the McMahon name in WWE right now. And, you know, I don't know that it would work though, but I don't see either of them really going for TNA. And like I say, I don't see AEW selling to either of them, to be honest with you. What are your thoughts, Ace?
I'm kind of torn on this one. As much as nobody expected that, even back in the 90s, and we mentioned the Monday Night Wars. I mean, Shane showed up and bought out, you know what I'm saying, WCW. Well, technically Vince bought it, and then, you know, Shane appeared. I can halfway see something like that happening. And if they are going global, and we don't really know what happens behind the scenes. I mean, who knows? Triple H can be in the talks with them right now. But
Looks like Ace froze on us.
It looks like it.
All right, so we'll bring him back.
situated.
We'll bring him back when he gets situated, and let him finish his point then. But Gabe,
I could build off of this though, because I'm honestly in the same boat that Ace is. Really, I feel like with I'm just kind of going down the list here. With TNA, I feel not that it's too little, too late, but it is. You know, if this was like 2006 when this controversy happened, then I could see it happening. Now it just feels like anything associated with the name McMahon is not happening. I just like maybe he could be a private equity or something like that, like a name on a producer's list, but not like actually putting his name on the product. But it's Vince McMahon. So I don't know that he would do that. He's the kind of guy where he's like, this is how I make my money and I want you to know it. So it's like for him to be somebody that's like a shareholder or donating money into a project that he wants to put his name on, I don't think it's going to happen. And with TNA specifically, they would take the money, I think about it, but I don't know that they would take his ideas. So again, I feel like maybe if it was 2006, it would work, but definitely not for modern day. And that's no disrespect on TNA's part. That's disrespect on McMahon's part. And then for
I don't see Vince getting either of them, and I don't see Shane with TNA, I
could see Shane with TNA. I don't know about Vince, but Shane I could definitely see.
I could almost see AEW handing Shane a contract and saying, I'll give you 5% ownership stake or something of that nature. And not enough Shane could really do much of anything, but enough that that McMahon name is attached to it. And maybe he could do a couple of his crazy matches here and there, but
I've accepted worse from AEW. I'll be real. If he showed up, that wouldn't be terrible. I think it would be cool, but that's just me. Now, as far as AEW goes, when it comes to selling for Vince, no. Not going to happen. Unless this man sold his soul to Satan. And I know it's Vince McMahon, so he wouldn't rule it out. I don't think they would do it. I feel like it's too much of a thing for Tony Khan. I feel like it goes against everything AEW stands for. And I like AEW, so I'm like, okay, they have some high ground here. I don't think they would or should do it. That's where I'm at with it. But
and do you feel there's room for another company to move in on television?
No. I feel like WWE is hitting its stride, and I feel like wrestling is getting back into the mainstream again. I feel like it's becoming the talking point. No matter what side of the world you're on, wrestling is going to be being talked about in the next couple of months. I promise you. Whether or not WrestleMania 40 was the singularity, now we know that everything is happening as a response since 40. We have all these things going on. And while, yes, I do think – I will answer this question like this, Haas, and I'll try to wrap up my point here quicker. I do think there's potential for a new company. I don't think Vince McMahon is the one to start it.
Well, because actually I bring that up because I had submitted another question, and once again, I'm just going to pop this in here without going through the randomizer. Hopefully I don't break it again. But, with WWE, AEW, and TNA occupying major spots, Freddie Prinze is actually trying to get a promotion going. And do you think Freddie could become a competitor in the wrestling industry? I mean, he was a writer for WWE for many years. So I mean,
If he was, then I have to look into some of the stories he might have been working on.
I know he was. He was backstage with WWE for a while.
That's actually a really important role, honestly.
I actually forget exactly which position it was, but I want to say he was a writer. But anyway, and now I read where he is in talks with a television deal, but my understanding is it's a television deal with someone who it's not. They're not completely dead, but they're kind of close to it. So I'm not exactly sure who his deal would be with. And they're trying to revive. So they think by adding wrestling to their lineup, they may be able to come back, and they've offered a television deal to Freddie. I don't know.
I honestly just want to see how that plays out. I'm not enough of an expert in the wrestling business to be able to give my 2 cents on it. I'm a 26-year-old from Florida, Haas. So I'm sure Freddie Prinze Jr. isn't concerned what I think about his wrestling show.
Well, I always feel that, yes, there's room for more wrestling, but at the same time, you look at it, we've got AEW, we've got TNA, we've got WWE, we've got our local
AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor.
Right.
And then it's like not even ignoring the fact that AEW has about how much content per show. Like if you were just an AEW fan alone, you got Dynamite, which is 3 hours, Collision. And then this is how out of touch I am with AEW. It's Collision and what else? Rampage. And then technically Ring of Honor. I'm yelling. I'm sorry.
More wrestling is not ever a bad thing, but at the same time, how much wrestling can one person watch? I mean, I watch as much as I possibly can. I have wrestling on DVR. If I miss it, and that honestly, I've got shows from weeks ago that I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and watch yet. And
I feel that though.
it's just, I think to bring in another wrestling company on television, at least trying to make it another big thing right now, I don't think this. It is the time, but it's not the time, because, like I say, right now wrestling's hotter than ever.
High risk, high reward. This could either end amazingly, and we could be like, oh my god, this is the third best show in America for wrestling, or it could be like, and this was Freddie Prinze Jr.'s attempt at wrestling.
So yeah, I mean,
just another name in the history books.
I mean, it is the hottest thing right now, but there's just so much of it out there. Do you have time to watch anymore of this?
As somebody who's trying their best, we really don't. It better be some good wrestling, dog, or we're not gonna watch it. I mean that from the best place. But let's hopefully we can get Ace hooked up back into the show right now. But did you just want to jump into the next question before we're still a ways away? Did we have any segments actually? Ace
keeps popping in and out. And I don't have Big Daddy P in the back, and I don't have anything for FWWC. I know Dewan said he couldn't make it, so, and our guest is in the back already. So if we want to go ahead and kind of transition into that, but before we do, as always, we need to go ahead and thank those sponsors again. Let me find our little
promotional consideration paid for by the following.
All right. As always, we want to thank our great sponsors, Royal Mills Transportation, Dewan Mills, providing all of your transportation needs out there in the Kansas City area. Nobleman's Barber Lounge, KCMO, Ask for Pete the Barber. Kincaid Arcade at the Oak Park Mall, Interstate 70 Sports Media, Jeremy Carpenter guys over there doing an absolutely awesome job. Little Popeye's Designs, where you can get your very own Wrestle Talk Podcast tumbler, and the FWWC, the world's premier fantasy wrestling group. So, be sure to check out our sponsors.
We gotta get a second take of that FWWC Hardcore House. Come on, you're the original.
WWC.
That's right.
Ace pop back in here real quick.
There we go. Hey, come on. Speaking of FWWC, welcome back to the show, man. Glad we can get
you. Howdy. It's that South Georgia internet, man. You know how it goes down here. We can't even dang. Come on now.
We know you're still using a track phone. Hey.
I know it.
So, Ace, did you have some news you want to drop on FWWC real quick, and then we'll get to our guest?
Yeah. He's got the card. We got the card coming up for Monday. The next round of the Rule of the Ring tournament is going to start actually next Monday. It'll be the second round of the Rule of the Ring. And if y'all hadn't kept up with it, the Rule of the Ring tournament, where actually the competitors are competing for a real crown, a custom made. And the person who wins that crown, they'll have to defend it their first time, hopefully by SummerSlam. And the point of winning it is kind of like a King of the Ring, but at the same time, you're going to get a shot at one of the mid-card titles. It's kind of like a cash-in. So you get to cash in on either the Spartan Talk Championship or a Hofstra out there with the Hardcore Championship. So when y'all watch me win this tournament, I kind of want to be a 3-time Hardcore champion. So Hoff, you got to watch it, buddy.
So did we have our card for the following match?
I think we got the card. I don't know if they pulled the card up yet.
I think we might have had that.
I did not get sent the card to put in, but
I have it if you guys want me to read off of it, so we can kind of.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Perfect. So if we're able to, Wrestle Talk Podcast family, you have the exclusive on the FWWC's card for next Monday. So it is official. We have Jason Curtis versus Lecter to start off the night, and then we have the Heel Deal versus Saint, and finally, we have 2 more matches here. We have Luke Justice versus Daniel Grimm, and Ace versus Mayhem versus Sick in a losers are eliminated for good match. I don't like the implications of that sound, but seems like a quite stacked card of action come Monday night in the FWWC. The rule of the ring is set to get a lot of opportunities for several people here in the and we call them mid-card championships, but really they are just championships. It's the names and faces attached that push them to that level. I mean, Hardcore Hoss, for example, I mean, he was able to beat you for it and has held it on to it for he's currently the longest reigning in history, and it's still going. So I guess I just want to take the opportunity to say, for those of you that are interested to see where this card goes, and if you really think you've got a shot to both take down my constituent here, Ace in the bottom, myself, or Hardcore Hoss over here for that Hardcore Championship, if you think you got the guts, be sure to hit us up on the FWWC, the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter. We are currently in season 11, looking for our opportunity for new wrestlers, new faces in the world of professional wrestling. Either if you got caught short in the world, if you got, if you're just a person who ever thought about wrestling but never really wanted to step in the ring and take the bumps for it, this is your chance for it here in the FWWC. But with that taken care of, I just wanted to get, the shout out if we can before we jump into our final members. But Ace, all right, thank you for taking the opportunity here on the show, man. We'd love to have you. And honestly, we'd love to have you again, so welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. It's always great to have a wrestling mind that we're able to, especially as somebody who got you, acclimated with the FWWC. It's nice to know that you are a part of this family, whether it's, competing there or just being able to appear on the show right now and give us your thoughts on the world of wrestling, because we always value whether we disagree on things, whether we're wrestling each other, whether we're not, and we're just talking about the shit we like when it comes to the world of rough and tumble. Love to see you. Thank you. And of course, we'll be sure to say hi to our guests for you. But thank you for taking your time out. All right. Welcome to the show, man. Take it easy.
Take it out, man. Take it easy.
Okay.
Love that guy.
All right. So let's go ahead and like say he's backstage. Hopefully he's been enjoying those green M&Ms as long as you remembered to put them in there this time.
Yeah. I made sure I set the alarm.
Okay.
I got you guys this time.
So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd like to welcome our featured guest of the night. He started wrestling back in 2018. He was trained by the Wild Man, Robbie Page, and Bill Bain, who you may have seen on WWE television a couple times. He has wrestled for WDWA, NWL, Eclipse, Voltage, CPW. He's a two-time Mid-Atlantic champion, two-time WDWA television champion. He's the 2024 Holy Grail winner. He's a former Turkey Brawl winner, EWA Tag Team champion. And please welcome to the show the one and only Mr. Martinsburg, Jordan Evans, ladies and gentlemen.
How's it going?
Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Doing pretty good, man. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. From Hardcore Hoss and myself, Wrestle Talk Podcast family, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. Jordan Evans here in episode 388. I'm getting sidetracked, man. I'm excited to have you here on the show if you can't tell.
488.
488. I keep saying 3. This is like the third time. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
So, Jordan, thank you for joining us. We're happy to have you on the show tonight, and so
thank you guys for having me.
Renee Martinez in the comment section, man. He's here for the episode. He couldn't be here to interview you, but we all try to make our time to be able to visit our guys here. So welcome to the show. Hope I didn't cut you off, by the way.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
I actually, I've seen you wrestle many times and things, and I actually this past weekend got to see Jordan in a Rumble match. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but he did have some pretty good shots in the match. And actually, I have a few pictures here where there's Jordan Evans
exclusive. Was this courtesy of Tyler Cooley?
Samuel Adams there. He's trying to put him out of the ring, and then once again trying to kick Sam Adams out from underneath. And then another member of the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. It's been here before.
Jason Curtis.
Giving him a nice boot to the gut.
He came after me.
You
I had
took
to
it
give
to
him the old
Jason
boots.
Curtis personally, Jordan. What?
I did indeed.
One of the toughest people I've ever had the opportunity to face in the FWWC, and you took him to the limit like that. Welcome to the show. I can't stress that enough, man. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I faced off with Jason Curtis in August of last year. My return to WDWA. I joined Kalen Patrick as his tag partner, and that was the first time I, faced him in the ring. And last time was last Saturday, and he's got a hell of a right hand on him. I'll tell you that. I'm still feeling the effects of that Rumble match. I went in at 11, and I was in the final 5, and I was in the match. I had an ear infection I was battling on top of that. So to go, it was hot in that building, and it was a rough night.
Wasn't doing you any favors, I would imagine.
Not at all.
I could imagine. So, Haas, did you want to start us off since we have him here on the show? I mean, I figure you're able to see him perform live, so I'm sure you got a lot of questions to ask him.
So, we were mentioning the Rumble match and everything, and I mentioned that you won the Holy Grail, which you hold. So I'm going to hit with the hard question first, and I'm sure that sure we can't get a direct answer on this. But, at the Rumble match, Bernie makes mention about seeing Susie's face when some familiar music hit that night, which would be the return of Clay Jacobs. And, he'll be facing Zakar Shaw for the title. And he's already said it's going to be a very brutal match at Berkeley Mania when he faces him. So after that match, when they're both really beaten and wore down, could we possibly see a cash in of that Holy Grail, irregardless of who wins, or if why did my train of thought just derail? Anyway, could we see it irregardless who wins, or is there one you cash in on and not the other?
And I wanted to add to that, out of the two, who would you rather cash in on?
I would much rather cash in on Zakar. Zakar and I have faced twice. September 22, I defended my Mid-Atlantic Championship against him, and I beat him. And so I hold a win over Zakar. And in, I think it was February this year, I lost a number 1 contender match to him. Not fair, but, Mr. Martinsburg doesn't make excuses. Go back to the bottom of the line, do it the hard way. That's what I had to do. Now I got the cup, so, doing all right. But, I definitely, if I had to pick one, it would be Zakar. I mean, we're 1-1 against each other. So, eventually I would just, if I'm able to take it from him, I would expect him and his boys to come after me, which would give us a third match 1-on-1, which I would really like, because I've got some unfinished business there.
I can definitely understand that, because, I mean, between Zakar and Clay Jacobs, not that Zakar is a slouch by any means, but, if I was going to meet one of them in a dark alley, I think I'd rather have that be Zakar. Clay can be kind of a brawler and fight dirty, when he wants to. So he's tough.
I had faced Clay 1-on-1 sometime in 2022. It's been 2 years, and he was still Cousin Clay. It was before he had taken on this new persona, and it's a whole different thing. I mean, the video that WDWA posted, you can see me. I'm in the ring, and as soon as he comes out, I go straight to the other side. Nobody wants any part of that. Somebody's been on the shelf for a year, and they've got a year to think about how bad they want this stuff. And while we've all got these things we're doing, Clay sat for a year thinking about these moments and thinking about these opportunities, and that's a dangerous man right there.
Somebody to definitely look out for, I would imagine.
So obviously, No, we just had to bring that up, and we're
Well, and
obviously not here to talk about play though. So.
I was gonna say, can we bring back Susan's comment here for a section? I wanted to kind of build off of it if we can.
This one?
Yeah. So she said she ran from Jordan when he tried to cash in last time. So what's the deal?
That was the car. That was the car ran from Jordan.
Oh, okay. But for the uninitiated like myself, I mean, what do you think was going through his mind at that moment? Do you think he didn't want any part of you, or?
I mean, you could see it in his eyes, Yeah. So it was right after a match with Ty Awesome. I love Ty; he's a great guy, and he took Zakar to his limit, and he might have had a chance against him had Zakar's boys not been around. And so when that was over, I was like, this is my time. I went to cash in the cup, and I gave it to the referee to cash in, and he ran away, not to be found. And I believe Bernie or Gavin made it official that if I go to cash in again and he runs away, that I'll be awarded the win. Not really how I want to do it, but if that's how Zakar wants to lose it, then by all means, right?
You can either go down a champ swinging, or you can just give me the belt. I can respect the hustle. But to throw it back to you, Hardcore House.
I mean, you've wrestled all over the place: Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Indiana, Maine, West Virginia, North Carolina, and you've gotten to face a lot of notable opponents. And which one of your notable opponents that you faced is really your most memorable one?
Definitely Rhino. And the reason I'm laughing is because I was so nervous, right?
Yeah, and right. What prepares you for a match with Rhino?
Well, the best part about it is, I got there and I didn't know until I got there, right? So I didn't have time to prepare. It was like, hey, man, go face him.
They put you on the spot.
Right. It's a 6-man tag match.
It's just like, and it's a no disqualification match. Oh, lovely. Okay. Yeah, I didn't need to get home in one piece.
I didn't want no parts of that. So, I get in the ring with him and I go to punch him, and he just looks at me with this like smile on his face, and I just remember thinking like, what is he gonna do to me?
I can't imagine. It's like last will and testament, because I feel like I'm half your size, so I can't even imagine being in your shoes in the situation, So I'm trying to get the same train of thought, but
Rhino and I are very similar in height, and we have a similar build style, but he's just much bigger than I am. So like usually, there's not many guys that are like that much bigger than me in this area, and then so when I step across from Rhino and he's, his biceps were ginormous. So, it's something that, you really can't prepare for. It's there, it slaps you in the face.
But now you can say officially that you've been slapped in the face by Rhino. That's a very select few people in wrestling, and that people are, especially able to live and tell about it, I would imagine. But I want to mention, because Hardcore Hoss gave me some notes on your career thus far. You were able to tag with him at one point?
I tagged against him.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify on that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to tag with him. If I did, that was
well, and I guess
I'd rather be on that side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you definitely want to be on the team with Rhino, I would imagine. But I guess I wanted to build off of what, I'm still getting into the business. I mentioned in the show earlier. So I like to take my advantages wherever I can. And for me, what's the biggest piece of information you've ever gotten from a wrestler? Like, especially from I guess like your trainer or any family members. Has anybody given you a piece of wisdom that you kind of hold on to, that think like every day when you go to wrestle, I think about this and I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm here. So I guess, do you have anything that really sticks out in your mind that you're just like, that's my mantra?
Well, the way you ask me the question, two things come to mind, and like two different ways. One, I was always told, like with my matches and stuff, I always like pick them apart and kind of beat myself up, especially, you know, when I first started and got in the business. You know, I just wanted to be perfect, and it's really impossible unless you're a very, you know, select like 1% of people, right? So
Or Kurt Hennig.
you're right. So there you go. I used to beat myself up, and you know, Robbie and Bill, you know, both my trainers told me, you know, your matches aren't going to be perfect, you know, and when you stop expecting them to be perfect and just, you know, go do your thing and learn from what you can learn from, build off what you can build off of, you know, go do your thing. And that stuck with me because now I'm not, you know, one thing that goes wrong doesn't make it a bad match. And in my head, it used to be that way.
Of course. And I want to add to that because I like to think about this as a wrestling fan. And I think there's way too many people who criticize somebody that, oh, you did one move wrong. And it's like the greatest of all time have messed up. There's footage of people botching. Like, it's why we have a term for it. It happens so often. Nobody's flawless in this industry. So I like to know that you have this advice to be able to kind of overcome that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are breaking into the business that are probably, you know, beating themselves over this kind of stuff every day. So
Yeah,
to throw it back
very
to you.
much so. And you know, I haven't been in the business a very long time, so you know, I'm not a vet by any means, and I don't like to try and go, you know, throw my advice to anybody. I've had a couple people reach out, you know, and ask, and that's really all I'll tell them, you know, is just the little nuggets that I can give them that I know that have been given to me. And I always started off with, hey, man, you know, I haven't been in this very long. So you're going to hear a lot of things from a lot of people, and they might know better, you know, but this is what I can give you. But yeah, so, and then the other thing would be I went to a seminar with Dr. Tom Pritchard. And, you know, he was asking everybody, well, what got you in the business? And he, you know, for me it was moments, and I was a late bloomer as a fan because my parents didn't like wrestling. I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid, so very few and far between as a kid I got to see it. And as a, you know, a teenager in high school and everything, that's when my fandom really peaked, and that's when I really got to, you know, experience things, go to shows, watch all the shows on TV. And, you know, I was a sophomore, junior in high school because I'm only 25 now. And so, you know, I was at a show, Battleground in DC. It was Bailey's surprise debut, and I was in the crowd.
Dude, I remember
And
that. Oh my God. When she came to help Sasha Banks.
yep. And
Oh, what
yeah,
was that? Like 2016?
2016, July
Good
2016.
Lord. Oh, dude. You see the hair standing up on my arm. Oh my God. That just like, that took, it's like Saving Private Ryan. I'm having PTSD from that date. Sorry. So you were in the arena that night.
Yeah, and it was one of, you know, I was a huge wrestling fan, right? And I can't describe the feeling that that moment gave me as a fan. And for me, it was, you know, whether it be on this level and it be 100 people, or I make it big and it's thousands of people, I want to give people those goosebumps. I want people to be so happy with the moment, and I want people to be so happy with whatever I'm doing at the time, you know, that they forget about what's going on in the real world. They just think about the moment, they get their goosebumps, you know, and it's something that lasts with them. And between that and Daniel Bryan coming back in 2016, those two moments are what made me want to become a wrestler. Daniel Bryan, you know, when he came back and he did his whole promo about his wife and fight for your dreams, and you know, that was like, you could tell, you could hear it in his voice how real that was. And as a fan, it was like, you know,
That
we none of us
resonates.
wanted to see Daniel Bryan go. And when he came back, you know, it was like it didn't even feel real. I remember getting the ESPN alert that said he was cleared. I was like, no, you know, no way. Like I was pacing all day. I just went with Raw or SmackDown, whatever was coming on that night. I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see what he was going to say, you know. And between Bailey's debut and Daniel Bryan's promo, Dr. Tom asked me, you know, why I wanted to be a wrestler. And I was like, because of these moments that give me goosebumps. And after my 2 day seminar with him, it was probably like 40 or 50 guys, or, you know, maybe a little more, a little less. I can't remember at this point. It's been years. It was right after the pandemic. But, you know, when you're in a crowd like that, you don't really, there's times where you can feel unnoticed. And as I went to say bye and thank you to Dr. Tom for everything, he said, "Keep getting goosebumps, kid." And that was the first conversation we had at the very beginning of the first day. And that was what he told me as I left. And, that'll always stick with me.
That's awesome. That's sorry, not to sound cliche. I guess that's just kind of the thing that resonates with you as a wrestling personality, to be able to just be like, he saw me. As a wrestling fan, we all want to be the guy in the front row. And I feel like that's the moment you had, because he listened to you when you were talking about goosebumps. Because I think about that. I think about it as a wrestling fan who wants to be a wrestler. But I feel like I've kind of strong-hearted this conversation. Haas, you want to take the wheel away from good old Gabriel Aracene over here?
No, you're good. I mean, I get to see Jordan on a regular basis, and so I get to talk with him frequently. So I really don't mind when others get to pop in there. But I do know that you had to take a break. Was it about a year or so ago?
Stepped away in December of 22, and I came back in August of 23.
So how hard was it to come back after taking a break, and what did you find most challenging about coming back after that?
So there's a lot that goes into that. The hardest part about coming back was before it all, when I had to step away. Stepping away was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. My wife and I were having a baby, and life happens, as the saying goes. He's great, Susie. He's doing awesome. He's walking now, and he says "Dada." So he's awesome. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I had to step away, and life happens, as I said. That was very hard. And watching from afar, wanting to be a part of everything, that was hard. And then as I start to work out and come back and think, one of the hardest things was, do they still care? Do they remember? Because it was I am very well received by the fans. However, it was only a year or so of a good run, and then I had to step away. And it is just the indie level, and you wonder how the fans are gonna if they're gonna remember you. And my goodness, man, the pop when I came back was awesome, and I'll never forget the chills, and I'll never forget
Were you there, Haas, when that happened? Can you attest to that? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's a different level.
He came out was something else, I tell you.
Yeah, they were happy to see Jordan Evans, man.
It's hard to describe the sound, but as a fan, when you're part of the reactions that are reading Bernie's comment.
Dada's elbow. Do we want to know? That sounds painful.
I've taught him the crossbody so far. He knows how to get the big crossbody, and he knows how to kick out of a pin as well. So he's going to be a young fighter.
Getting his lumps in early.
Yeah, where was I? I got distracted by Bernie's comment.
The pop from the crowd. The feeling.
When you're a fan on one side of it, you're projecting one way. When you're in the ring, you've got all four sides projecting towards you. And I'll never forget, that ovation that I got. And I, from months of wondering if they're going to care and if it's going to matter, to, the biggest house of the year going crazy. It was an awesome moment.
Yes, and Susie said, yes, we do still remember you and still love you.
Now, I guess I can throw a different kind of curveball at you, because we're talking about a lot of fans that appreciate you, the ones that are there for Jordan Evans. Have you ever gotten heat from everybody? And do you have any specific stories to tell? Because I know not every wrestler has to play face. Not everybody's a local town hero, or maybe you get your start and you get off on the wrong foot with the wrong people. right? Maybe you're
Right.
fighting the guy that they're there for. So do you
Right,
have
when
any specific? Did anybody bust you in the eye with a heel? No, kidding.
When I was a EWA tag team champion in Maryland, and this was probably 2019, I was a heel there. And I was pretty, they hated me. It was a tag team with my old partner Austin Everett, and he had like a pretty boy gimmick. He had the hair flip, and they chanted Justin Bieber at him, and it was a fun time. And I remember there was this kid, and he was in the front row, and I called him stupid, and his dad was huge, and he was drunk, and he tried to.
You know that kid was bothered when he got home. You know that he was just like, I can't believe that wrestler called me stupid. He's stupid. You know.
He looked straight up at his dad like, did he really just say that to me? And his dad like wanted to kill me, and security had to keep him on his side of the barricade, and like I thought he was coming
Evans
after
almost
me.
had to fight a dude.
In
Sorry, your
today's
dad
age
got
of the
involved.
business, yeah, right. In today's age of the business, there's not so much of that, want to beat, beat the shit out of you heat, for lack of a better term, like they had in the 80s and stuff like that. You'll hear Jim Cornette talking about, trying not to get stabbed on his way back to the locker room. I don't have to worry about anything like that, but
Thankfully,
you
right?
know, you get too into what you're doing, and you get too into what you're doing, and then sometimes people can want to
Well,
come
I'm
after
glad
you.
to hear you haven't been stabbed in a parking lot. That's reassuring at least. Like I know as wrestling heels, we all aspire to try and say the thing that gets us in trouble because we like to bother people, but we should also not aspire to be getting stabbed in parking lots. I have
Right.
to advocate.
Yeah, and
Bernie,
and
how's this only going to get bigger here in WDWA, and Jordan's a big piece of that growth? I love to hear it. I mean,
Thank you, Bernie. It means a lot.
Haas, you said he was a two-time television champion.
yeah, two-time Mid-Atlantic champion, two-time television champion. Yeah.
So, are you returning to the ring recently, Jordan?
I came back August 2023. I did a few matches in 2023, and I've been wrestling regularly once or twice a month since all of 2024. So.
Wow. So, I guess I have to ask so I can hit you with one of the, what's going to happen in your career questions. What do you think needs to happen for Jordan Evans to become WDWA champion? I mean, I would imagine you're really aiming for that high spot. We all want to be the world champion. So I guess I want to know what's going through your head.
I think, thankfully it's kind of an easy one for me right now because I've got the cash, I've got the cup, so I can cash it in. The answer for me is I'm just waiting for the right moment. For me, I've been wanting this for a long time. I've been working towards it for a long time. I was extra hungry for it when I wasn't able to be a part of everything. And now I'm simply just waiting for my moment to take it.
You just need the plate so you can cut the food. That's it. You're ready to eat.
Right. You got it, man. And whether I, go to the top or whether I flop, I'm excited for my opportunity to, take the championship and see what I can do for WWA, and my time will come and we'll see when that is.
I love to hear it. Before we throw it into what I'm trying to kind of, I guess, set up for a hardcore Haas, did you have any other questions we had for Jordan before we move on here? I know we have a couple comments and sections, people here to see Jordan tonight.
Well, I know when you first came back, or when you first were coming back from your break, you actually wrestled at another group at the Clark County Fair in Berryville, Virginia. And you are actually originally from Berryville, despite the moniker Mr. Martinsburg. And so how special was it for you to actually perform in front of your true hometown crowd in your hometown?
It was very special. There was never wrestling in Clark County my whole time growing up. I mean, it was a long time ago, like back in the 80s or 90s, the last time before last year that Clark County Fair had seen pro wrestling. So, to be a fan of pro wrestling and to graduate from Clark County High School and then to come back and when I was in high school, I mean, you guys are wrestling fans. You know how it goes. People used to pick on me for watching wrestling. People used to hate on me for it. One of my best friends, and I played basketball in high school. One of my best friends used to make fun of me because they would be watching film for basketball games and they would be reading playbooks, and I would be on YouTube and I'd be watching wrestling clips. And,
I got
that's all I thought about
the
was
words.
wrestling.
The words, it's fake, right? Is so common for wrestling fans, and it's like I just want to backhand them. I know your pain, man. I hate it. I hate it. I still suffer this now as a 26-year-old who's unbothered. It's the worst.
It was cool because there was twofold. Like we hit, there was all my friends and everybody who supported me in the journey, and then there's the people that kind of didn't support me and kind of scoffed at it. Everybody was there, and
It's pro
everybody
wrestling.
got to see
Yeah.
it. So
And we have a segment at the very beginning of the show. We call it our high spot segment, and basically we just go through and talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling. And I think you did catch a few topics there towards the end that we were discussing. But one I'd like to get your thought on is that WWE now has made the decision that they're going to put out a thing that they're calling WrestleMania XL Behind the Curtain, with behind the scenes exclusive footage. As a wrestler yourself, what is your thoughts on a documentary such as that? And do you think it kills the mystique of wrestling to have a documentary like that where they're showing behind the scenes footage?
Or do you mind the fourth wall at all? Like, I guess as a wrestler, do you mind this? Because me and Haas, we're not wrestlers. So, like, does this bother you as much as it does for fans who are like, oh, what's the curtain?
right, it's as a wrestler that likes to study and learn as much as as much as I can. I love those documentaries. You can learn so much from watching the people that are above you do what you dream of doing. And if you want to be there and you take notes from the guys that are already there, right? And it's not that you're going to learn a lot from those, but you can always pick up little bits and pieces. And that's one thing I love of those documentaries on the positive side. On the negative side, you know, it's not it's not 1980 anymore. People know that the guys talk backstage. It's not separate locker rooms. It's none of that. So you know, people
It's not separate planes.
people know now. And I think
it's not
because of
El
that,
Santo being buried with his mask level booking anymore. Like we understand how wrestling works a little better than we did in 1985, ladies and gentlemen.
right? So because there's so many people that do understand that. But if you're looking like outside of probably younger than 12 and older than 60 are the only fan base. 60 might even be pushing it. Probably like older than 70 are the only people that you can generally get them with stuff nowadays. Like I had a match. Hoss probably remembers this. It was a fatal four way. I won the TV title, I believe, from Jafet, and Kalen Patrick and Bo Ross were also in the match. They attacked me after the match. My grandma was there, and she tried to get up, and she was like, he won it fair and square, and she was
You're
hot,
ready to jump
and
over the barricade.
and so
It's
for
good
that
to know she
aspect of
loves
it,
you. That's
I
awesome.
I wouldn't want I wouldn't want those documentaries put on Channel 9 from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. But when they're on a streaming service for the people that want to seek them out to watch them, I think they're great. But I for a casual viewer, an 8-year-old that's flipping through a cable channel, or, an older person flipping through a cable channel, I don't like it as much, because that does take away for those people that haven't. It's kind of like Santa Claus, right? If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. And once you can't go back, right? So, you want to keep it that way for the people that still believe everything. If you still believe in Santa, you want to keep that as long as you can, right?
See, Susie gets it. See, but with that, thank you, by the way, Jordan. I just wanted to say, Haas, did you have any other questions you want to rattle off before we jump into our next segment, or were we ready to jump into this? Because I know it's about that time. You're muted, buddy.
I was actually going to ask you the same thing. There's just
Perfect. Okay, so I guess I'll do the honors here, Jordan. Me and Haas, we've pretty much covered you on questions here for the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. We have a segment here in the Wrestle Talk Podcast we like to try and do before the second hour that we would like you to participate in. Would you be interested?
Sure.
All righty. So feel free to say no to this, but it is time for the world famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge.
Okay.
Yeah. So we take the opportunity where one of our co-hosts on the Wrestle Talk Podcast will challenge you, our guest, in a series of questions for the Wrestle Talk Podcast to see who is I guess I want to say brainier the brain, because I can't really came the greatest wrestling quiz champion. Would you be interested?
Let's do it.
Alrighty.
All right,
So
let's go ahead and hit that theme music. Welcome to this week's installment of the world famous Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Tonight's contest is scheduled for the best 2 out of 3 falls. Our contestants are the Wrestle Talk Podcast, Gabriel Arsene, and Mr. Martinsburg, Jordan Evans. In a few moments, gentlemen, I will ask you 3 questions about a particular professional wrestling topic. Whenever you think you know the answer to the question, shout out your answer. The first person to win 2 falls will win tonight's Game Show Challenge question. Tonight's Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge category is wrestlers born in the 2000s. I will give you information about 3 professional wrestlers born in the 2000s. When you think you know the answer, shout out your answer. The first person to win 2 out of 3 falls wins tonight's contest. Now, if you shout out the answer and it's wrong, you can always shout out a new answer. You get more than one opportunity.
We like to clarify that for our guest here, Jordan. Even if you get the question wrong, because Hardcore Haas will let you know, that doesn't prevent you from guessing the answers again. So just to let you know.
All right. So are both of you clear on the rules?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it.
All right. So if you're ready to go, question number 1. This AEW wrestler was born in 2001.
MJF.
No. Since her debut in 2019,
Dr. Britt Baker.
She has gone on to be the AEW TBS champion
Jade
and
Cargill.
a member of the House of Black.
Julia Hart.
Julia Hart is correct, and I believe I heard Gabe first on that.
Oh, it was close.
Look,
It was very close.
There is no rule against me answering as many times as possible, so I don't care if anybody pities me for that.
Well, and
I feel no shame.
Jordan can answer as many times as he likes as well. So
that is true.
Okay, question number 2. This NXT wrestler was born in 2001. Since her debut in 2018, she has gone on to be the ROH Women's Champion, NXT Women's Tag Team Champion, and the current 2-time NXT Women's Champion. Name her.
I don't watch NXT. I don't even know.
Shayna Baszler?
No, not Shayna.
Okay, it's not Athena, is it? Or
No.
What is her name? Ember Moon? Okay, wait. You said 2-time women's NXT champion.
She is the current 2-time NXT
Roxanne Perez? Is that her name?
Yes. So that is correct.
I'm the best at trivia. I'm sorry. Okay, so it is 2 out of 3 falls. Jordan Evans, because I am feeling cocky here in the Wrestle Talk podcast, we're going to make it all or nothing. So if you get this question, you will officially have defeated Gabriel Arsene here in the Wrestle Talk podcast. Are you ready?
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's do it. Hardcore Haas, lead us in.
All right. This wrestler was born in 2005. According to our sources, his first match was in April 2018 at the age of 12. Presently, he received guidance from Christian Cage in AEW. Nope, not
Nick
Hook.
Wayne?
Nick Wayne is correct.
Wait, who is it?
Nick Wayne.
Who is Nick Wayne? What? I gambled and I lost. Oh my God. And with that, Jordan Evans has won the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge right from under my nose. Yes, play the victory music, Hardcore Hot. It's all for you, Jordan. Those are cards.
Now you gotta take the elbow drop.
There you go. I'll let you know when I'm in Kansas City. But congratulations.
He's in West Virginia, not Kansas City.
Or excuse me, West Virginia. I apologize.
Wrong host.
I'm not good at anything outside of Florida. I'm sorry. I barely know
You're
where
in Florida.
What's up?
Yeah, he is in Florida.
Yep.
If you want, add me on the socials, and if you can send me some local indie posters, maybe I can get on the show near you, and then you can come see me live.
Well, actually, if I can do you one better, since we're nearing the end of our program here, Jordan, thank you for being on the show. And we want to take the opportunity, if you have any socials, if you want to drop them on here so we can display them. If you're on X, TikTok, Instagram, or we can find you on Facebook. I mean, and when are your next bookings and where can people reach you out to, whether you got a phone number or anything like that, so please let us know.
I'm on Facebook, Jordan Evans. I'm on Twitter or X now, and Instagram at Blue Chip Evans or at Mr. Martinsburg. I can't remember. I changed it. The Rock trademark Blue Chipper, so I'm trying to move away from that. I can't remember exactly what the names are, but Jordan Evans is the person name on all of them. So my profile pictures are wrestling pictures. So any of those. I'll be at WDWA on July 6th. I just got word of who I have a one-on-one match with. I'm not going to say it on here because it hasn't been announced yet, but keep your eyes out for that because it's going to be a pretty good one.
You can give us the exclusive here in the Wrestle Talk podcast. But with all that taken care of, Jordan, I want to be able to the first to extend the hand out and say, welcome to the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. Episode 488 is in the books. In the road.
Hey, you got it right. It only took you 2 hours.
Yeah, I know. We're learning. It's a learning process. I'm young, okay? But
and
we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being able to take your time out of your day to promote, and just to be able to talk to us about the world of wrestling right now.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
And can we look forward to seeing you in the future?
Yeah, anytime.
Oh, perfect. You were saying, Haas, not to cut you off.
We keep telling you about Kakoa's wrestling school down there in Florida.
I need to fix my car first. I promise I'm getting close. Hopefully,
Jordan actually knows. He actually knows Kakoa. He's
Kakoa?
The WDWA as well.
You got to put in a word for me, dog. I'm really trying to get into this.
I can't speak highly enough of Kakoa. There's nobody that, takes more time and gives more, you know, to the business. There's two people that I've
I
seen
seen
give
Bobby
the
Fish on his
utmost to the
Instagram. I'm upset.
business.
Look, I'm putting in the homework, guys. I'm keeping up with Keikoa. I'm trying to get his name out there. I'm sorry. I'm trying to take my shot.
Kakoa and Bob Keller are two guys. Bob Keller's from the Carolinas, and I've never seen a guy work so hard. But and Kakoa, he gives a lot of time, to everybody. He took like an hour Zoom call with me to critique a 10-minute match of mine. And he didn't charge a thing. I can't speak enough about how, Kakoa's amazing. So, if you can get in with him in his school, dude, you'd be doing yourself a huge favor.
For sure, man. I appreciate the opportunity. But Haas, just before we wrap up the program here, I mean, if we can just take an opportunity to give a round of applause for any deal. I can vouch for K. Cohen, known him over a decade, tremendous drive and a better person. But Haas, if we could be, I'm not sure if the soundboard's coming in, but
I am looking for you here, Pat.
we can get this for you. We got the trumpets for the victory theme for you. We're trying to get this. Waiting it out.
There it is.
Yeah, there we go. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day, Jordan. We appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate it. Jimmy Harris Sr., Night Fam, good show. Thank you for sticking around for us for the second hour. We had a lot of time to fill. Coming at you from Hardcore Haas and Gabriel Larcine. I know he's going to be at your next show. Hopefully we can get you down here in Florida in our next show so I can be able to catch you. But
that'd be awesome.
We're fortunate to have you enough here in the Wrestle Talk Podcast tonight.
Any last thoughts before we let you go, Jordan?
Matt, I appreciate you guys having me. Happy to come back anytime. And I, for the most part, am wrestling at WDWA, but I'm starting to get back on the road and everything now. To wrestle a few more places. I'm talking to somewhere in Delaware right now to get out there, which will be a new state for me, a new company. Looking to get more exposure and everything. Just now getting back into it, having a baby. It's hard to get back in the swing of things, but we're finally getting there.
So, all right, Jordan. Well, thank you for coming. We really appreciate you making time for us, and it has been a pleasure to talk with you. And I look forward to seeing you at the next show at WDWA. And best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Take it easy,
Jordan
man.
Evans, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to check him out on all of his socials.
God, see, Hardcore Haas, are we just getting better at this show? Because we might as well change it. Our scene at Hardcore Haas, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Can we get one Hardcore Haas, please? I just need one.
That's right.
Yeah. We're making it a regular thing, man. This is because it's eat, sleep, wake up, Wrestle Talk with Hardcore. We're crushing it.
I was going to say,
with fantastic guests like Jordan Evans to be able to push us through episode 488, man. We're only, 12 episodes away from episode 500, and it's thanks to every single one of you who are here on our Facebook right now. We appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough to be able to do this every Tuesday. I mean, it's a fun feeling, man. I mean, we got Ace in the first hour. We got Jordan Evans in the second hour. We're crushing it.
Yeah, and we do have plenty of great stuff coming up for you. I know next week we have Wrestle Madness again for you. That people have seemed to like that in the past. And they've set up another Wrestle Madness. I know I won't be present for that one, but I believe that you will, and the Night Owl will be here. So, make sure to tune in to Wrestle Madness 5. We got plenty of great guests coming up. Sean Phoenix coming up. Mike Raddick's got several things going in this area, and so we got him coming up to talk about it. And another gentleman that we spoke about tonight, the wild man, Robbie Page, who actually was one of the people who actually trained Jordan Evans. He will be on the show coming up here in a few weeks as well. So, great things, and all going right up to episode number 500, where there are plenty of surprises in store for episode 500. So cannot wait for that.
It seems so close, and yet it's so far away, Hardcore Haas. But, with amazing guests like Jordan Evans, with the potential future in the world of professional wrestling, with me and you at the helm, with Night Owl, with Skywalker, with Rodell, with Perry, with Ace, every last person and every last member of the Wrestle Talk Podcast family, I think we're going to be able to cruise by and enjoy this on our road there to episode 500. But with that, we got to wrap up episode 488 in the books of the Wrestle Talk Podcast family. Thank you very much. From Gabriel Arsene and Hardcore Haas, have a good night.